Welcome to episode 63. This week on the show, a new trip package at Walt Disney World, more Fox acquisition news, Gondola updates, and new additions to Mickey's Not-So-Scary Halloween Party. We also announced some show improvements and additions to include our new introductions of our new show team members, and we welcome author Katy Price to the show to discuss her latest book about the Sherman Brothers. Stay tuned.
Hey, it's Lou Mangello here, and you are listening to the One Little Spark podcast.
Broadcasting from the Dreamport. One Little Spark podcast.
Oh, hello there.
Do you want to connect with our show?
Find us online at onelittlesparkpodcast.com.
Hello.
And on social media by searching for One Little Spark Podcast.
In every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap, the job's a game. And every task you undertake becomes a piece of cake, a lark, a spree. It's very clear to see
that a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The medicine go down. Medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful way.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious, if you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Because I was afraid to speak when I was just a lad. My father gave my nose a tweak and told me I was bad. But then one day I learned a word that saved my aching nose. The biggest word you ever heard, and this is how it goes. Oh, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious, if you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Steps of St. Paul's, the little old bird woman comes in her own special way to the people she calls. Come buy my bags full of crumbs. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence. Tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds. Tuppence a bag. Tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. With tuppence for paper and strings, you can have your own set of wings. With your feet on the ground, you're a bird in flight. With your fist holding tight to the string of your kite. Oh, let's go fly a kite up to the highest height. Let's go fly a kite and send it soaring up through the atmosphere, up where the air is clear. Oh, let's go fly a kite. Oh, let's go
Welcome to the show that brings you the latest Disney news, rumors, and opinions, immersive in-park audio, ride-throughs and happenings, and interviews, attraction histories, and fun top 10 lists. Your one stop for all things Disney. One Little Spark Podcast. And now your hosts, Rich and Joey.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Rich here, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Joey. How's it going, man?
It's going great, man.
Awesome.
Glad to be here.
You better be.
It's radio voice night, Rich.
Radio voice night. How's your week been, Joey?
It's been wonderful.
So, we have a lot of stuff that's happened. I know, at least I have a lot to share. But first, tell me about what you've been up to.
Well, you know, because we talked about it, but I guess our listeners don't, so I'll tell them.
I know nothing.
And you really don't know most of the details. I told you what I was doing before I left, but I don't think I've talked to you since I got back.
No.
So
Who are you?
It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I am a completely different man now.
Oh, God.
And, you know, I laugh, but the reality is I had a pretty phenomenal week volunteering at a summer camp for foster kids. And I got to tell you, these kids, they really changed me. Because these kids, Rich, and I don't want to be a downer on the show or anything, but these kids in the foster program go through some pretty rough stuff. Some of you listening to this know that. Some of you don't. I had no idea. I had very little experience with foster kids at all in my entire life. And our church runs a program that, they provide volunteers and do some funding for an organization called the Royal Family Kids. If you guys want to check them out, go to rfk.org. They're a phenomenal organization. They're all across the United States, and they put on these summer camps. They basically take these kids that spend 51 weeks of the year not getting to be a kid. I mean, these kids have lawyers, they have counselors, they have psychiatrists, they've been in front of a judge, they've been analyzed and scrutinized, they've been abused, most of them, and several of them are currently being abused where they currently live. You know, and when you're in the foster system and the foster parents can't care for you anymore and you go from one house to another, these kids literally take the clothes on their back and a garbage bag full of t-shirts, socks, and underwear. And that's all they got. They don't have a teddy bear. They don't have a remote control car. They don't have a blanket like Linus has to hold on to. So they come to this camp. We had 52 of them at the camp that we were at. And we could have had 60. Well, we had only 22 boys because we didn't have enough male volunteers. So if you're listening to this and you live in Central Texas, let me know if you want to be a male volunteer next year. We'll get you checked out. And I would love to have you come be with us because these kids are just amazing. Like I said, 51 weeks out of the year, they don't get to be a kid. For one solid week, they're canoeing, they're shooting BB guns, they're shooting, bows and arrows, they're running and playing ball and, doing crafts. We had a take-apart table where we had people donate technology, and these kids are, they're going to find out what that circuit board inside that printer looks like, and they're going to use a hammer to find out. And you know what? The look on their face when they pull out the technology, we gave every kid a box on the first day, and of course I had the young kid cabin. We had 8 and 9-year-olds. Every one of them turned their box into an imaginary craft of some kind, and they were taking the components from the machines that they were tearing apart, and they were asking us for tape, and they were putting them on them like Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes. So I had a remarkable week. I wish I could tell you more. I can't even tell you the names of the kids. I'm not allowed to by law. I'm not allowed to take pictures, so I have 0 pictures of these kids. What I have is pictures in my mind of day one where these kids have blank stares because they don't smile ever in their regular day-to-day life because there's nothing to smile about. But on day 4 and day 5, they were laughing, they were smiling, and they were changing adults' lives, and it was pretty remarkable.
Wow, that's so great, Joey. I was talking about you to someone else and mentioned that that's what you were doing, and And, it's really fortunate that I have a friend like you that does stuff like that to change other people's lives, even if it's unfortunately for only 1 week out of the year, which is kind of crappy. Like, why don't they work it out where maybe it's more often than that? Is it a financial thing or some legal thing?
Yeah, it's very, very challenging. It costs nearly $70,000 for us to put on this camp for 52 kids, for 60 kids. It's very expensive. We're looking for ways to bring the cost down, but the reality is, even if we had more money, there's so much more we could even do. I mean, we really pack it in. I mean, from 7 a.m. to pretty much 9 or 10 o'clock at night, we are moving constantly. We're moving from one project onto the next. We're moving from one area to the next, and we go to an amazing camp. It's hot out here in Central Texas, but there were trees, so we had some shade. The facilities had some really great buildings that had cover, so we were able to be in the shade for a lot of it. And they have a beautiful lake. The kids got to go and swim in the lake every day, go canoeing, go fishing. But yeah, it would be great. You know what I would love to do? I'd love to bring some of these kids to Walt Disney World someday. So I know that Make-A-Wish and some other organizations out there, I think Make-A-Wish is for kids that have terminal illnesses or whatever. But I think there's some organizations where we might be able to get some of these kids and actually get to give them quite the experience of a lifetime. I'd love to be able to do that someday. But yeah, it's, if you find an organization like that near you and you can take a week of your life, I know it's a big ask. I know a lot of dads who, they get 2 weeks a year, and they're, 1 week is usually spent driving to the in-laws in Illinois, right? Mm-hmm. And the other week is, getting to spend actually, relaxing, doing what they want to do, maybe fishing, maybe golfing, maybe spending time with the kids on a road trip or something. And so they don't get a whole lot of time. And I'm fortunate that I do have the luxury to take the time to invest in things like this. And then again, we're going on a 2-week trip here in July. So I am very fortunate, very blessed, and I want to put that back into the lives of people who don't necessarily have as much right now to be able to do the things that I can do. But I have a feeling that I was able to educate these kids in a way to kind of inspire and educate them so that they can grow up to be entrepreneurs, to be able to put themselves in a position where they can go and grow beyond the situation they're in now and have the life that they want to have when they're older.
Definitely. I mean, I could see that where they look back at that week and say, Joey inspired me and I want to be someone like him, and out of all the negative stuff I'm dealing with, he was such a positive influence. Now, is there any way they can come back later and contact you, or was it kind of the same where they can't or not allowed to contact you?
It's funny you should say that. Normally, no, they don't come back and contact you. I'll tell you 2 quick stories. One of the counselors that I was with, that I shared a cabin with on this trip, he went last year. It was his first year, and he actually adopted one of the boys.
Oh, wow.
He took him 6 months working with social workers to actually locate the boy, because all he had was a first name, and he knew that the kid went to the camp. So they figured out who I talked to the directors. They had the kid's last name. They found the social worker that could connect him with the foster parents. They had the kid finally transferred to his home, and next month in July, he's adopting him. Like, he's going to be...
That is amazing.
Yeah, an official part of his family. So there's that. The other one is, normally, no, they don't stay in touch, but and it's very rare to get feedback from foster parents because most of them, they're not really that invested in the kid. They're there to make sure that the kid has, food and a home and transportation, and that's about it. And then when the kid gets adopted or a kid gets taken to another home, or they get reintegrated with their mom and dad or grandparents or aunt and uncle, that's it. They don't see the kid anymore either, right? And so they're not trying to invest a lot into these kids because they don't want to get too attached. I had 2 boys. Every counselor has either 2 boys or 2 girls. And actually with all the other administrative help and the counselors in training, we actually have 2 adults for every camper at this camp. For a lot of reasons. Most of it's for security reasons, both for the counselor and for the kids. But one of the boys that I had, his mother wrote the camp. So we were there Monday to Friday last week. On the following Monday, I get a letter from the placement director in the program. She's the lady who contacts all the foster parents and gets the kids placed. And one of the campers that I had, his mom actually wrote a letter. And I got to tell you, it's Friday. It's been a full 5 days since I saw that letter, and I cry every day, and I read it every day. Because she wrote and said essentially, Joey made a huge difference. Our kid is a 180-degree difference. He was not nice to us before he left. He wasn't kind to his siblings. Now he's nice to us. He asks questions about our family. He's kind to his siblings, and he shows them, a caring heart. And so, yeah, I can even talk about it without getting, a little choked up because, they name me. The kids get, they actually have a photographer who takes pictures of the kids, and they get a photo book of them shooting the bow and arrow and shooting the BB guns and canoeing and stuff. And so this young man got his photo book, and his mom was like, he goes through the photo book with me and tells me how much fun he had, and he shows me pictures of him and Joey, and him showing him how to do things, and it's just I gotta tell you, man, that letter, I'm big on results. I like to see results. I like to see when I have a marketing company, we like to see the needle move on certain things, and we don't get a whole lot of feedback, and the fact that we got feedback on my kid has just been, everybody that's gone to camp the last week has read that letter. They've all reached out to me to congratulate me, but I know that they all worked just as hard as I did to support these kids. And anyway,
Man, that's amazing, Joey.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that there isn't more stuff like this, because, and maybe there is, but you never hear about it. But everyone right now in the news is worried about this and that, and who said this and did that, but they're not looking at the little things, the real issues that aren't what they think are real issues. But real issues are things like this, and that's important, and little things like that, and the person at who you are can change their life, and then who knows, maybe they will go on to do great things, and then they'll raise kids someday and raise the kids how you kind of helped mold them, even if it was in that 1 week span of time, and that's really extremely positive, man. That's great. That's a great positive story to hear. That's really heartfelt.
Yeah, so what's been going on with you, man?
Well, definitely not as heartfelt as that, but so I had a pretty eventful past 2 weeks since our last show. I hope you did have a great Father's Day. Was it spent there?
No, actually, we got home Friday, and then that Sunday we had Father's Day. Yeah.
Okay.
My somebody ran into my car while we were at Father's Day dinner, but they left a note on the window, so but at least it wasn't a hit and run. But that was outside of that, everything for Father's Day was really wonderful, actually.
Okay. Well, I spent it working.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, because to be honest, like I mentioned in the last episode, Amelia's with her mom, which is great. But something that I did do is, you've heard of Movie Pass, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually got the Movie Pass and set that up. And, so in town, there's a brand new theater called Epic Theater. They have a chain of them all over the country. It's really nice. They have recliners with wide, nice digital screens. It's real clean. And then there's this other theater in town that's a little bit older and sticky on the floor. And they fired the janitor in 2012, it seems like.
Oh, no.
It's in an old mall that has a Sears that's selling the shelving at the moment, just because it's liquidating, and it's you hear the music and there's nothing there. It's a nails shop, a hat store, things like that. There's nothing in it. It's about to die pretty much. Anyhow, so the Movie Pass only works if you don't have the card on the reservations portion of the app. And now that older theater was the only one at the moment that was taking the not reservations, but where you can reserve it, I guess. Or I guess that's reservation.
Yeah, reservation.
So, reservation. So we're like, okay, fine. We really wanted to go see a movie with the Movie Pass. So we went to this theater, and this one was not the cleanest. We were the only car there too. So I'm like, okay, let's go see Hotel Artemis. I don't know if you heard of it. It has Dave Bautista and a couple other decent celebrities in there. Like, okay,
kind of a gangster shoot 'em up adventure film.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, forgetful pretty much, but it was okay. I wouldn't say it was horrible, but it was free, kind of. It's like a $10 a month thing, and you get unlimited movies. You could see every movie you want, but only once. And anyway, so we go in there. No one's there. Literally, we're the only car there. And we come out, and it's about 11 or so at night, and there's like this kind of a ramp down to leave, and I swear the guy at the concession like sprints down the ramp. He's like, "Sir, hold on, sir," and I'm like, "Oh," and he's holding something, and I'm like, "Oh, I must have dropped, my wallet or something." He's like running like full speed, and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Hey, thanks so much for coming in. And happy Father's Day. And just because you're a father, we want to give you this. My manager said to give this to you." And he hands me like a business card, and I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like a business card that someone had in their pocket for like a month, and like, or like in a wallet and never took it out. So it's like formed to the pocket in the wallet. And it just says "one courtesy pass," and it was like the saddest thing, like the lowly high school.
Well, it's all part of the
kid.
theme, right? They have a brand. They have to make sure that they stay true to it.
Yeah. So that theater is definitely closing like any minute because they're less than a mile or so from the other badass theater that's like clean and pristine and literally called Epic. And the screens are wide, and they have recliners. There's literally no purpose to go to the old one unless you are like, "No, I stand true to the original," or something. So anyway, I saw that, and that was creepy because he's like, "Since you're a father," I'm like, "How do you know?" Like, they probably ran my card and like, "Let's Facebook them." Yeah, I'm like, "Wait, how'd you know I was a father?"
Yeah, you're not even there with a kid.
With my kid, so... okay, so then I saw the movie Tag. It was okay.
Oh, I had high hopes for that.
It's like I saw where they were trying to be funny, and things were funny, but then it was like expected comedy. Like, what was going to happen because of the situation. So I would say don't spend your money in the theater to see either of those movies.
Okay.
Then I got to see Incredibles 2, which I think was it was good. It broke like a record, I guess, recently, but I'm like, okay. And that was okay. So I think it was good. Wouldn't buy it.
Oh.
No, I don't know. It wasn't bad. It was kind of like, it was kind of slow paced too, if that makes any sense. And it's definitely not hurting in the box office. So maybe I'm just like what's it called? Debbie Downer, I guess. But no, yeah, not the best. Okay, so something else I wanted to talk about that I did was, so that's actually pretty. It's pretty awesome that I got the movie pass. I think it's definitely worth it if they stay in business, and because it seems like we're scamming them. $10 a month. The tickets alone are $11, so less than one ticket price, and you have a whole month of movies. So anyhow, I got to check out the Edison for the first time over at Disney Springs. I loved it. So if you guys aren't familiar, it's basically steampunk themed with gears everywhere and things that are old-timey, like little machinery everywhere, and there's pumps and gadgets and things all over, and it's amazing. I love it. I love the theming. Everyone's wearing suspenders and bow ties and like leather shoes, and I sat in an area kind of by the stage where they had the live performers. And if you go back on the Facebook group page, I posted some clips from the performers, and they did a really good job. The service was excellent, and the food was incredible, and I would definitely go back there. It was a long time waiting for that place to open, and I think it's definitely worth it.
Awesome.
The next day, I went to the Magic Kingdom, and the weather was Florida. Drizzling and humid. Good times. And here's something that I've always wanted to do that I never got to do, and I didn't even tell you about this, but I actually spoke with a DVC representative and did one of the presentations.
Yeah, you told me that you were going to be doing one of those. Tell me about that. That sounds interesting.
Okay, so I specifically went and looked for one that wasn't busy. A lot of times they're just handing out stickers and stuff. And I said, I legitimately want to know about this. I know how it kind of works, but I want to know how it works with the financials, how it works with the points, how it works with where you choose where your home is. And the guy was great. He went over everything that I wanted to know that wasn't the financials, because the people in the park don't really talk about that much. They leave you with someone else that goes in a little bit more depth and has a license to do all that. So he spent about 30 minutes and talked about everything I wanted to know that I had questions for at that point. And then we got bussed over to, gosh, I forget which one it was, because this resort had 3 different show rooms of the different resorts. So they had Alani, they had the Polynesian, and I think it was Copper Creek was the showroom, and it was awesome. We went there. There was refreshments, and then they show you like a replica of the room, but it was a tiny bit smaller than what the room sizes really are. And then afterwards, you got free ice cream. So that was nice. Something definitely worth looking into, especially with my post office money.
Mm.
and then we got 3 free fast passes, so that was pretty nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, something else that was very exciting, Joey, and I know you saw the photos online, was someone messaged me and said that they appreciate all of the work that goes into the show. And he's this guy named Brian Johnson. He listens to the show. I think he heard it through another podcast. And he's like, hey, I have this replica of the Haunted Mansion plaque. Do you want one? I'm like, yes, I do. So he literally sent it to me. In like 2 days, I got it. So if you guys haven't seen it, go on there and check out the photo that I posted about that. His name is Brian Johnson, and he runs a business called Johnson Arms Props. And there's a ton of other stuff, as well as those replicas all over his pages. And that was something that was just really amazing. I really appreciate that, Brian, if you're listening. And everyone go check out his work. It's really, really great. And you know what's funny, Joey? I was in the park at Haunted Mansion, and I looked at the actual plaque. I'm like, mine's better. And they have like the ones that are $90 in the store, and it's not as good. I'm like, the guy put hard work into it. It's a 3D model printed, I think, shell, and then with some other material that it's actually made out of, like a hard material, and it's really detailed, and he spent the time and painted it and everything, and it looks really, really good. So go check that out online. Now, Joey, before we get to the show, I have some really important stuff to announce. So, I know you're a busy guy, you know, changing kids' lives and all, running a business. And I'm a busy guy, being a single parent, you know, working endless amounts of hours at work. So something that was kind of lacking with this show was something that I really wanted to get kind of a boost with, and that's a lot of the social media stuff, as well as the meetups and other aspects of behind the scenes. So something that I did was I posted a few weeks ago on social media and gathered all of the names that were submitted, which took quite a while to respond to everyone and basically plan conversations because everyone else is busy as well. But I did think hard about everything, and after I spoke with everyone who responded, I chose some people who I'd like to join our team. Huh. So right now, I'd like to introduce them to you and to the listeners. So at the moment, though, I'm only going to be announcing 2 of the new team members, since the other 2 are really in the midst of personal things, but they'll get back to me here soon. It's just we couldn't line up conversations on Skype and things like that to get to know them and see if it's really something they'd be up to doing. So I asked them to shoot me a clip for you guys. So here's the first one.
Why, thank you very much, Rich. Hello, everyone. My name is Seymour Spaz, and I'm the new guy around here. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter and Periscope. And wait, does anyone still do Periscope anymore? Well, either way, I'm very funny and good-looking. A wink. Anyhow, I'm here to join the One Little Spark team on one of the best Disney podcasts streaming today. I'm going to try to keep up with Rich and Joey and the rest of the team, bringing you the best and in-depth coverage on Disney topics, news, and general discussion. A couple of my favorite things around the parks include the Carousel of Progress. Am I the only one that has a tattoo of Rover? The Wedway, bonus points if you know what that is. Spaceship Earth, the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, and Aerosmith's Rock and Roller Coaster, just to name a few. I hope that my knowledge of Walt Disney World, hidden gems around all the parks, movies, and other such happenings can bring another fun perspective to the show. A little bit more about me. I'm a 40-something-year-old transplant from Connecticut that's been in Florida for about 9 years now. I've been a Disney fan since I was a wee tyke, and I can even remember seeing Bambi back in 1979 at a drive-in. And not only that, my amazing book and record collection. Well, that's enough about me for now. Make sure you look me up on all the social media stuff at Seymour Spaz, and I'll see you at the parks.
Nice. That sounds great. He sounds like he's got some good experience with this stuff. And I love the little sound edits that he put in there. That's awesome.
Yeah, he sent that to me pre-edited. All I did was add music to flow with it. And I actually met him in the parks multiple times over the past year. Great guy, lots of Disney knowledge and passion, and he has a lot of passion for other projects as well. He loves creating. He made me some buttons at one point. He's really passionate about creating things for the show, such as segments, as well as some things that we could hand out, like buttons and decals, possibly, things like that. So I thought he'd be a great addition to the team.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Now, I have another one that I wanted to announce, and here she is right now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marissa Mars, and I'm so excited to be joining the One Little Spark podcast team. I've always had a passion for all things Disney related, and I can't wait to help bring you news, updates, opinions, tips, and all the other fun topics to this podcast. I hope my extensive knowledge of Disney will be helpful, and that I can offer other unique perspectives for the show. Some of my favorite Disney rides are the Haunted Mansion, Splash Mountain, and Pirates of the Caribbean. Mary Poppins and Lilo and Stitch are two of my all-time favorite movies, and I really think The Happiest Millionaire deserves more recognition for the great movie that it is. Outside of Disney, I also love hockey and Harry Potter. I'm a 20-something Chicago native and really wish I could become a snowbird already. You can find me at Facebook at Marissa Mars, on Instagram and Twitter at @TheMarissaMars, and I also have a Disney-specific Instagram at RightWhereIBelong_. I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone in this wonderful community and working on the best Disney podcast around.
Excellent. Wow, man, we got some high quality stuff going on here. This is really going to help us out.
Yeah, what's awesome is we were already friends on Facebook, and I didn't even know that. So she listened to the show. She was pretty addicted, I guess. She listened through all the shows, or at least she said she's working on them. One of those. And yeah, we were friends. I'm like, oh, you're already a friend. And then because I saw her face whenever she emailed me, and I'm like, oh, she looks familiar. And then I looked, and bam, she's right there. So we had a phone conversation later about some other ideas that I don't want to share yet, but they're going to be a major part of the team going forward with segments and behind-the-scenes stuff, as well as joining us here and there for conversations whenever we can all align our schedules. And we've been working on some other ideas that, again, I'm not ready to share. But if you're still wondering about Magic Ear Theater, Joey, it's not dead.
I'm still wondering about that.
I am too, because we are working behind the scenes to get that going. I've been speaking with another well-established podcaster and entertainment producer that I don't want to name by name. I know he listens to the show, and he, once you see his name, you might know him, you might recognize him. He does, at the moment, at least 2 other shows. One's definitely not related to Disney, and he has a really, really established wife as well. She is, I don't really want to give away who it is, but this would be a perfect partner to work on this with. And the reason why I wanted to go this route is because I have the ideas of what I want to do in my head. I just don't have enough hours in the day. And I know he's an extremely busy guy as well, but he has this background with theater and acting and singing and writing. And I definitely wanted to add this guy, and he's definitely interested. We're going to be chit-chatting here in the next few days to get that ball rolling. So stay tuned more for Magic Ear Theater. I'm so sorry that it's been like 8 months since we talked about this for the first time, but it's definitely a lot to put in to make the dream come a reality. And I have so many ideas for it, and we're definitely going to make it happen. It's just a matter of when and making it perfect, because I don't want it to be subpar. So it's going to be great. So Joey, that was a lot to talk about in our intro, but there's a lot going on, a lot of exciting stuff that I promised going forward, and a lot of positive things and growth for the show. So with that being said, are you ready to get the show going?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. We're going to be right back after we hear from Kelly from the Epic Disney Escape.
Hello everyone, this is Kelly from Epic Disney Escape, and last episode I actually interviewed my mom, and then this episode I'm interviewing my Aunt Betty.
Yay!
She's another person who worked at Disneyland, and I just wanted to ask her about the same questions that I had asked my mom, because everybody has a different experience working for Disney, and she worked at a little bit of a different time than my mom. So
A little bit later than your mom and dad.
So, Betty.
Yes?
What is your first Disney memory?
God, I think my first Disney memory was when my mom felt comfortable enough to allow me to take the family that came out every summer to Disneyland. And I was probably 7 or 8, and yet I was like the travel agent and would take the family to Disneyland because of course I loved it, so it wasn't a big thing for me, but I was the one that was like, well, let's go to here, and now you need to go over here, we need to go on this ride. And so I remember that as like I felt so grown up at that point that I was like, you know, one of those, what do you call them?
Tour guide,
thank you. And I actually wanted to be a tour guide. I did, but that never happened. But that's what I felt like.
Awesome.
So that's it.
What was the main thing that you wanted to show them when they were there?
Gosh, I don't know if there was a main thing. I think it was just everything. You know, back then, Disneyland was so different, you know, than, well, Disney World wasn't even, I think, thought of yet. I just wanted him to see the quaintness of it and what Walt, I think, was trying to show, you know, with his genius. So that's kind of what I was trying to do, even at 7.
Wow.
I know.
You're pretty mature.
I was very mature.
Yeah. That's why your mom trusted you.
Well, I just love Disney, so.
All right, Betty. When did you work for Disney?
I worked there from 1977. I was in 9th grade. I remember I had to get a work permit to work, and I worked until 1983 or 84, somewhere around there. So that's the dates that I worked there. And I worked solely in the parades. So I loved it. Most of my characters, I was out, my face was out. So I was allowed to see the people and see, you know, how excited they were to see the parades. And, you know, we had so many different parades that happened throughout the years that it was great.
What was your most memorable parade?
Well, my most memorable parade was probably the 25th anniversary parade, and I was in that, and I was actually on a postcard, so that makes me very happy about that. So somewhere out there's a postcard of me.
That's awesome. All right, Betty, what is the most epic thing that you were able to do while working with Disney?
Well, this ties into the 25th anniversary parade, because my most epic, what I think, is we did the Rose Parade.
the year of the 25th anniversary. And so they took the entire parade, the whole 25th anniversary parade, took it to Pasadena, and we were the pre-parade to the Rose Parade. And so it was awesome. Did my feet hurt when I was done? Yes. We had brand new shoes, brand new costumes. But in the end, to this day, is one of my most treasured moments of working at Disney.
Awesome.
So, does that work?
Yeah, that works great.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me.
You're
and
welcome.
sharing your story.
This family. We're all about Disney. So.
All right, guys. Well, if you're looking for more epic experiences and epic magic, check out Epic Disney Escape on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for listening.
This week's lesson in podcasting etiquette. Whilst enjoying your day on iTunes and you're browsing for a Disney podcast and you feel inspired to take a leap of faith and create your own show, please ensure you have searched to see if someone has already taken the name you think you thought of first. This is a common courtesy amongst podcasters and will alleviate a proverbial slap to the face of those who have worked hard to establish said show. Adding one word does nothing to make a difference. Thank you, and good day.
Hey Rich, this is Joey. I'm at a party and people are asking me questions about going to Disney World, and it made me think of a Disney hack that I don't think I've ever shared before. And that is that the questions they're asking me are very easily searchable to find the answers on the internet. And so I just wanted to give everybody kind of an idea of what I do when I want to find something out, where I go to search for certain things. And it's very important to search before you do any kind of vacation. You know, we're planning a trip to the American Northwest to take a Alaskan cruise. And so, of course, you know, we're typing in things like Seattle, Washington, fun things to do, you know. So if you're going to Orlando, you know, we've talked about TripAdvisor before. There's really great suggestions there, but there's also some really good suggestions on Facebook, on Pinterest, and these are search engines themselves. So you don't just have to go to Google to search for things. You can actually search for things within groups on Facebook. So let me narrow this down. So first one is groups on Facebook. There's a search bar at the top. You can search for things within the group. If you don't see what you're looking for, you can always, of course, ask the question to the group. But sometimes if you just do a search within some of the large Disney World groups, you're going to get more answers than you ever thought existed already answered. And you can go and you can search through or read through the answers and click on the links that they provide, and it will help you with whatever research you're doing for your trip to Disney World. The other one that I want to point out is Pinterest. Pinterest is a plethora of resources and knowledge and links to sites with information. Some of it's really old, so you want to be careful of that, but go to Pinterest, type in what you're looking for at the top in the search bar, and it's going to give you all kinds of great information. And the beautiful thing about Pinterest, unlike Facebook, is that as you're finding information, you can actually create your own board, which is a resource or a collection of all the things that you found for yourself, so you can go back to it again and again and again. It could be information about magic bands or fast passes. It could be information about park times or bus schedules. All that stuff you can save on a Pinterest board that you can access from your mobile phone once you get to Orlando. And the last thing I want to say is, regardless of what you want to know or what you're thinking of knowing, it's very important that you actually do a little research before you plan anything. You know, you might actually save yourself from looking bad if you just did a little bit of research, right? You wouldn't be that person writing a 1-star review on TripAdvisor, or you might not get into an argument with a family member because you thought something, but they actually did the research. I trust me, I've seen this happen before. So to prevent yourself from looking like a fool, do a little research before you do anything, especially when you're planning a trip to Disney World. We do a lot of research for the podcast before we do anything. But before we even started the podcast, we did research on creating the show. I know I did that when I created the Disney Hack podcast, and before I started working with One Little Spark, but also before we even do individual episodes, we go and we look for things that we make sure we know what we're talking about. We make sure we know that it's correct information before we make any decision on anything. So that's my Disney Hack for the week. I hope it's good. I hope you guys can hear this, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Talk to you later.
This week on the show, it's really exciting, Joey. It's really exciting because finally, we've been waiting kind of a while now to have this author on the show, and I'm excited because of the book that she wrote, and I'm definitely wanting to hear her story on what she went through to get this book written and all of the research that she had to go and read and learn about, and it's something that I love, and you guys are going to want to listen to it. Welcome to the show, author Katy Price.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. I'm glad you're on the show. Joey and I are very excited to have you, and we'll get to your story right after the news.
And now, the latest news.
Extra!
This week in the news, there's a new package you can pay for coming to the Walt Disney World Resort this fall, and I wanted to read off some of the details, and you could tell me whether you think it would be worth it or not. This limited time deal will include a 5-night stay at a select Disney Resort hotel with arrival on September 3rd and departing on September 8th. Additionally, guests will get a 4-day Magic Your Way ticket and an itinerary full of magical experiences at all 4 theme parks. So here's what they are. This is kind of weird because it's pretty specific for the things that they have set every day. So on September 3rd, guests will arrive at the resort, and then you'll wake up. And then the first day on September 4th, is going to be at Epcot. There's going to be a welcome dinner party inspired by the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival. September 5th at Disney's Animal Kingdom, there's going to be a nighttime Kilimanjaro safari adventure, and also an exclusive Rivers of Light viewing just for the guests on this package.
Oh boy.
Okay. So now okay, well, let me pause real quick. The price, let me start with the price so then you could tell me if it's worth it so far. Okay, so far, it's $149 a person per night.
Okay.
Per night. Okay? So far you have an Epcot dinner, Animal Kingdom Safari, and Rivers of Light exclusive to this package. The next day, you're at Disney's Hollywood Studios for 2 exclusive hours of evening access to Toy Story Land.
Okay. It's exclusive. It's not like extra magic hours or anything. It's kick everyone out, just the people who bought the package.
Right. The next day at the Magic Kingdom Park, you get access to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Now, I don't think this is exclusive access. I think you just get kind of a ticket for free or included it in that price. Okay, and then the last day, you leave. So that's it. So you don't really get admission to the park. You just get those things. And that's $150 a person and per night for a family of 4 in a standard room at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort for a total package price of $29.80. The number of packages allotted is limited, so they only have so many people. Now, what do you think about that price, and do you think that price is worth it for this package, especially because it's all specific?
Yeah, it's very specific, especially down to the specific date. And as you know, September is hurricane season. So this whole thing could be completely ruined just by one storm. I don't know who's asking for this. I don't know if it's more than I would pay. It's a lot. You know, I'm considering, you know, if I can ever afford to do it, getting, you know, the VIP tour guide to go around with me for a day, right? Just in my family, just to kind of have that experience. And, you know, that's very expensive. So I don't know if the value is there. It certainly sounds nice to get a couple of hours at Toy Story Land, especially in September of the, you know, a few months after it opened. So that alone might be worth it for people who are, you know, super Toy Story fans, but it doesn't sound like we've been hearing a lot of chatter about people being over the moon about Toy Story Land. We already know they've built Toy Story Land in other parks over in Asia, and they had to cut the budget on this one considerably. And I've read a few, reviews on it. So I don't know if you're a huge Toy Story fan, maybe it's worth it. If you're a huge Rivers of Light fan, maybe. I don't know many people who are. So I bet they'll sell out. They're going to try every little thing there is, but I don't know if I would do it.
Now, Katie, how often are you able to get down here?
Not often enough. I haven't been in 2 years, so I'm dying to get down there.
A lot's changed since then. I mean, rides have closed, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding.
Well, and Pandora's opened, and there's been quite a few changes. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple closures, a couple new things. By the time you get here, when are you planning to come next?
Well, I was planning to go this spring, and that didn't happen, so probably the fall or next spring is probably the soonest I can get out there.
Nice. Okay, so
down
at
there,
least
I guess.
you'll have a lot of new things, and then if you come next spring, maybe Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway will be open by then. Who knows? So, what do you think about this package?
Well, it doesn't sound like it would be my favorite option. I definitely, if I'm going down there, I would definitely want as much park time as possible and not limited. But I mean, it might work for some people if they go down there often and just want to see a few things.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that it kind of plans your whole trip. It's kind of like you're already gonna pay for the hotel, and this doesn't include your multiple day park hopper tickets. So I'm not sure if it's worth it if you're an out-of-towner. I don't think it's worth it if you're a pass holder, because that's like a whole week worth of things you'd have to stay and do.
Yeah. If you lived there, I mean, maybe, but, even if you lived an hour away, it may not be worth it.
No, because I'm not spending $3,000 on a hotel when I live that close.
Right.
So next in the news, Joey, I wanted you to kind of let us know about the Fox deal, because at first we heard a little bit about it, where Disney put the offer out there and Fox is like, yeah, that sounds great. And then we were kind of waiting a little bit, because with this type of massive purchase and acquisition, there's a lot of legal stuff that has to happen first. They can't just sell a massive thing like this off. So a couple months later, we talked about this, I think it was last episode, we talked about Comcast counter offering for like $10 billion more dollars. And then Disney's like, no. and they offered like another $18 billion or something. Now it's up to, what was it, $70 billion?
Yeah, $71.3 billion in cash and stock. Yeah, it's you don't want to go up against Iger in these kinds of situations that we should know by now with Marvel and Pixar and Lucasfilm. I mean, the guy he's got the magic touch, and he's willing to find the other investors to help him achieve whatever goal he's trying to achieve. Originally, it was $52.4 billion, and that's a big number. I mean, $1 billion is a big number. $52.4 billion in one of the oldest, most established, most recognized film and television icons of the history of film and television, Fox Studios. And we all know 20th Century Fox from that fanfare that started before Star Wars and numerous movies, including Avatar and the Die Hard films and lots of things that belong to Fox. So aside from the television stuff like X-Files and The Simpsons, so we're very familiar with Fox. In comes Comcast. They try to blow us out with a roughly $65 billion all-cash offer, which I don't know where anybody's getting $65 billion in cash, except for maybe the CEO of Apple or something. I don't know very many people. Tim, what's his name? Jeff Bezos maybe might have $65 billion in his back pocket, but not a whole lot of people have that kind of cheddar. And of course, Iger wasn't going to allow them to do that, so he upped it to $71.3 billion in cash and stock. And he has a very good relationship apparently with the Murdochs, who own the Fox company. So, he wasn't too concerned, although the bidding war did cost Disney quite a bit more money. Eventually, Fox met with their board, and they made a final decision that, contracts were signed, and this thing is now moving to the next phase where they're going to have the regulatory people take a look at it. And I've even read in some pretty credible sources that the the people who are going to be approving this on a regulatory level felt a lot more comfortable with Disney getting it than with Comcast as well. Like regulatory wise, Disney had a better shot of actually closing the deal and taking it through to fruition. And now we get to wait 7 years while Disney sits in the offices over there at Fox Studios or whatever we talked about last time, where they were going to rent space while they did the transition. If you didn't hear that, that was quite a bit of a fun conversation in the last episode. But so that's kind of the high level, gist of what's going on. There were some other things that were involved. Disney had to buy a few more assets that they weren't initially going to buy. They had to get lumped into the deal. I can't imagine what the paperwork on this thing must have looked like. It must have been just reams and reams and reams of paper to finalize the contract that was finally read and signed to get this thing pushed through.
I even was reading about the acquisition of part of that deal was Sky News, and they were talking about getting rid of that kind of.
Yeah, they're going to buy it for like $2 billion and then pretty much shut it down, which sounds crazy. But, I was just reading about Elon Musk. He bought a company for solar panels for homes or something, solar panels and batteries for several, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was like, 13 billion or something like that, or maybe it wasn't that high. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they're, after 2 years of trying to make that work, they're just going to shut it down. They're just going to, shutter it. And so, that's the nature of business in 2018. You're going to spend billions of dollars on buying certain assets, and some are going to make you billions, and some you're just going to shut it down, fire everybody, and dust your shoulders off and move on to the next thing.
I know I'm excited about this because no one likes Comcast. Let's just be honest.
Well, Comcast is the parent company of Universal.
I know. That's the thing is I think that would be in the wrong hands of all those IPs. I think there's a lot of stuff that Disney could do or expand on, and that would be really nice. There's a lot of films that I'd love to see that Disney just simply can't do at the moment. No, there is also... Disney's releasing a movie practically 1 or 2 a month because of all the different properties that they have. So it is kind of crazy the amount of money they're making.
They're really struggling to not, overstep their own assets, right? They don't want to release a Pixar movie too close to a Marvel movie, too close to a Star Wars movie, and so they're limited in what they can release. They could put out more Marvel movies, but they're limiting themselves to 2 or 3 a year and scattering them throughout the year because any more and they're stepping on their other assets.
That, and they're gonna just go against their self in the box office, and it's just kind of weird. And you hear all about these records being broken with these film franchises, so it's really exciting to see what will come after the tribulation.
Right. Well, I'd like to know what Katie thinks. Have you been following what's been going on with the Fox Disney deal? You got any thoughts or opinions about that?
I have been following it. It just seems like Disney's kind of taking over everything, but I agree. I don't really like Comcast. I use Comcast and I don't like them. So I do agree on that.
Yeah, bad cable service, bad deal. No.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that's a real big deal with regards to this purchase, it has to do with streaming. And, we cut the cord on our cable company earlier this year. I want to say January or February. And pretty much just have internet through AT&T. And we watch, we have a antenna. So we watch some of the local stuff through that on occasion. And we even have a TiVo where we record some of the local stuff. But we watch a lot of Netflix. We watch Hulu. We watch, Amazon Prime. And with Disney's new streaming service coming out next year, this has really locked them in. This is one of the reasons why they wanted to establish this purchase so badly. It wasn't really about getting those Fox IPs. I'm sure that, having full control of Avatar and having Avatar Land, was an important element, but being able to come out and compete with Netflix, compete with where Amazon's at in streaming and all the other services that are coming to fruition in the next few years, because there is a lot of money in little $8, $10 monthly subscriptions when you compare that to literally, if you had 2 billion people on the planet subscribed at $10 a month to your service, you'd be making $200 billion a month, right? Or maybe, I gave an extra zero to that, 20 billion, but $20 billion a month is still $200 billion a year in revenue. And imagine what the kind of power and control you can have with a lot of that money.
Not to mention the fact that that purchase includes I think it's 2/3 ownership of Hulu, and the other is Comcast. So that's a lot of movies that won't be on Hulu anymore. And then I was reading an article, I think it was in Wall Street Journal, is basically that once that goes down, they're out. They're going to just dump their Hulu portion, Comcast.
Yeah.
So, because, I mean, really, what's the point then?
They're not going to have any controlling interests, and Disney's probably going to squeeze them out anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 2 years. We're going to have a lot to chat about, Rich, because I know that this is going to give them fuel to make multiple changes on multiple fronts, and it's going to be a very exciting time to be a Disney fan.
Especially, God, in the parks, the films, merchandise alone, and they are juggernauts with their merchandise. I mean, they just came out with Mickey ears based off of Mickey bars. So there you go. Next little blurb I saw was not that much of a story, but it's kind of exciting that the gondolas have finally arrived on property as of a few days ago. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. Going to Google now.
There was a couple flatbed photos of some of the gondolas entering property, so that's pretty cool. I am excited. I know I've been looking at those pylons, I guess they're called, all over the property. They're just sitting there waiting. They're all done. Just kind of waiting for the cable supports and the cars themselves. So I'm excited to do that. I know we've talked on so many different episodes about the gondolas. I think it's a positive thing. I see expansion possibly later down the road to Animal Kingdom, or even possibly to all the parks. I think it'd be a nice little extra thing.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper than monorails, that's for sure. They're a lot smaller than I thought they would be.
They are. I think they fit 10. Is that what they're saying at the D23?
Yeah, I think so. 8 to 10.
What are your thoughts on these, Katie?
I think they're scary, but I will not be riding those.
Katie's going to help us with the traffic flow by not getting in line for the gondola.
Yes, pretty much. I don't know. I've never liked those things that go over the parks, those little sky bucket things. I don't know why. So that reminds me too much of those, but I think they're neat. I just won't be riding them.
You've never been on back when they were in the Magic Kingdom?
No.
Or Disneyland? Yeah, I loved it. I liked it when I was a kid back then, and I loved it. I loved Tomorrowland, and then the other section dumped you out right near Haunted Mansion, so I loved both of the sections that it left you at, and I liked it. It was relaxing and something comparable to like the People Mover, but I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it. I think it's a great form of transportation. Urban gondola design has been something growing in Europe and in Asia in recent years. We're trying to incorporate it into city design here in Austin, Texas, where I live, and we're hitting a few bumps with the city council and some of the political stuff, but it's so much cheaper and so much more efficient. If the gondola comes into the station and it never stops and people get on it and it rolls away and you just don't get on, the next one's going to roll through the station in 20 or 30 seconds, and it's an incredibly efficient and very low cost form of transportation. And I can see them taking it all the way out to Animal Kingdom. I think it'd be a very pleasant ride out there. And with all the improvements they're doing to the resort, I think you're going to see some cool stuff from angles that maybe you never would have seen otherwise.
Mm-hmm. So here's something that I think is pretty awesome.
Well, not a whole lot amazes you, so I'm excited to hear what it is.
Well, the reason I say this, let me start by saying that Halloween is just around the corner, Joey. I mean, Halloween at Disney's like, oh, it's summer. Summer just started, Halloween time.
And 4 months away.
It's still hot, and they're like, put up the Christmas decorations. It's fine. So what does this mean for the Magic Kingdom? It means we have the Not So Scary Halloween Party coming, and they're adding actually quite a bit of new elements to the party this year. So here's what they are. Besides all of the extra characters, the parade, the fireworks, and the candy all over the park, here's some new stuff that they're adding. The Mad Tea Party will take you on a colorful ride as new lighting and effects give a new spin on the night.
And little pieces of mushroom.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And LSD.
That'll definitely take you on a new ride.
Have some candy, little kids.
Oh, man.
It's the little Eat Me candy that she eats in the house.
Don't eat it. Yeah, but then you get off the ride and you drink the thing, and it makes the effect go away. I think that'd be pretty brilliant, actually, if they can pull that off.
Marketing. They have $70 billion, or they did.
Eat your hallucinogen, and then when you get off the ride, drink your anti-hallucinogen. Everything's fine.
Oh, God. So, depending on the color of your costume, you too could transform under the new dancing light. So I think that ride is... I actually surprisingly like the Mad Tea Party. I know a lot of people are like, it sucks.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, it is pretty basic, but it still is kind of fun.
I like it. You could make it as thrilling as you want. And I think adding new lights and whatever that means, probably black lights, because, Halloween and stuff. Okay, so that's one of the additions. The another one is, and this I don't actually understand, because if it's what I think it is, this sounds awesome. On Pirates of the Caribbean, new pirates invade the experience, interacting with sailing guests who will join the search for Gunpowder Pete. Now, I don't know if this is inside the attraction or like around the attraction in the land. It just says on Pirates of the Caribbean, though. So is this where like live actor performers will be inside the ride?
That would be great if it is.
Yeah. The next one, which I think is kind of cool, is on Space Mountain. Explorers will hurtle through deep space as a new soundtrack and special effects transform the adventure. You might even see a few ghosts in the galaxy. So that's kind of cool. New music and lighting effects, I guess.
Did you say hurdle or hurl?
Hurtle.
Oh, okay.
Not.
Like, we added vomit all through the ride.
Fun. Poor Katie. She's having to sit here and listen to us.
And this year, the Storybook Circus welcomes the Storybook Circus Disney Junior Jam, of course, another long name from Disney. A dance party featuring some of your favorite Disney Junior characters, including Doc McStuffins, and that's all they list. They're like...
That's, including Doc McStuffins, and that's it? That's hilarious.
They're like, some of all of your characters, like just the one that we're going to tell you about.
That way, it's not false advertising when you show up and it's just Doc McStuffins and Edna Mode, because they just had to repurpose her from the from Summertime.
Yeah. They're like, we can't get rid of the costume now.
We recycled everything.
It's in the Dollar Theater. It's still irrelevant.
Yeah.
Plus, all of your favorites return in Mickey's Boo to You Halloween Parade, Hocus Pocus Villain Spectacular, Spelltacular, and Happy Hallowishes, which is dated. Mickey's
but the parade is pretty cool.
It is. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party takes place on select nights from August 17th through October 31st.
Okay, that's the night you don't wear the vinyl Halloween costume.
Yeah, because that's what I did last year. I'm like, I'm going to cover this for the show. And I went on day one. It was busier than a moderate normal day. I'm like, why are there so many people? And turns out because it was the first day.
And it was 102 degrees at 97% humidity. And
Yeah, we're like pouring down sweat. Have you ever been to the Halloween party, Katie?
Yeah, that's actually usually when I go is during the Halloween party. So I've been there quite a few times.
Katie, are you excited about the teacups?
I do like the teacups. I have kids, so riding it with my kids I don't like as much because they like to spin it as fast as they can and leaves me... I probably don't even need your magic cake or whatever you guys are talking about, your candy. They make me feel that way. Just
ride
just
the teacups, then go over to Space Mountain and hurl through the galaxy. It'd be great.
Yeah, get your LSD over at the teacups. And then go find a mystery character called Gunpowder Pete. Good time.
Over in Pirates, yeah. Good times.
So last and kind of sad, but Richard Girth, the famous Disney cast member of the Grand Floridian, passed away a couple weeks back now. We didn't get to cover it last time on the show because we had already recorded for the week, but he was 92 years old. And if you just put in like Richard Disney or like Richard and Grand Floridian, you'll see 1,000 pictures come up, especially on social media, because this guy, and I actually never got the chance to meet him, unfortunately, but this guy was always there, greeting guests, and assisted over his time over 3,500 brides at the resort since 1991. Now, in 2013, Richard was presented with the Walt Disney Legacy Award, which is that blue name tag. It's the highest award any Disney cast member can receive. And he says, I went over to casting with a number the Grand gave me, and she put it in the computer and said that you got the job. And that's all how he got hired. They're just like, here, go over here, and you're hired. He said he never filled out an application. So for over 30 years, Richard interacted with guests and, to some, became much more important than a stop to Splash Mountain or Spaceship Earth. Some families would come by with their children and take pictures every year to show how they'd grown in comparison to him.
Wow.
So, and he says, the children are now coming to think that I'm a grandfather-like figure. Your whole life is built on how you act to other people, and I'm overjoyed every time I come here to the Grand Floridian. So everything that I've ever heard about this guy is always that he was like the sweetest, most humble, friendly, loving, welcoming guy that they have on property. And he passed away, though. I mean, that's an old age, but talk about such a legacy with the company,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's loved by so many fans. You've heard of him, right, Katie?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was sad news, and I did want to cover it, but we just didn't have enough time to get to it last time. So that's pretty much it for the news. Joey, do you have anything else?
Well, I don't know if this is newsworthy enough, but the bus times being on the My Disney Experience app, did you see that this week?
Yeah, I think you have to have a reservation for them to show up, I believe.
Well, that stinks. What about all the rest of us that stay off property?
Yeah, you're like, I just want to go to lunch at one of the resorts. They're like, no, book a room.
I'm just going to get one of the minivans. I'm not going to wait for the bus anymore. I'd love to book a room, actually.
Yeah, I actually, I'm looking here at the app now, and I don't even see where it shows bus times. It just looks normal to me. Good times.
Good times.
Well, that's it for the news. Let's get to the rest of the show. This week on the show, Joey and I are very excited to have Katy on. She was just here with us in the news, and we are excited, Katy, because we've been wanting to have you on for quite a while, and we did read over your book a little bit, and we wanted you to tell us all about your story. So tell us a little bit about how you came to love Disney.
Well, I have been going to Disney ever since I was a little kid. That was always my family's go-to place for vacation. So I've always grown up on Disney, and we were the kind of household that always had Disney music on, Disney movies. So it was something that was definitely instilled in me very young. And I think as I've gotten older, it's just the love has just grown more and more. Probably love Disney more now than I did as a child. So, I think every year that passes, I love Disney a little bit more. So this definitely was a book that I had to write.
You talk about you grew up with Disney music and, movies and all that. So raising your children, how was that with Disney in the household? Were they like, oh, God, Mom is obsessed? Or were they like, oh, my God, we love it? Like, how did they embrace it?
Well, it's kind of gone through like transition phases. When they were little, they loved it. My oldest daughter is going to be 14 this year, so she's kind of had the transition from, oh God, not this again. Why do you always play this in the car? But I catch her listening to it, when she's getting ready and stuff, Disney on Pandora and stuff. So I think I've, set the base for that to grow in her as well. So it'll come back around, I think, sooner or later.
I can picture that you're driving and you're listening to like some obscure thing, and she's like looking out the window like, God, turn this off. And you look in the mirror and you see like the reflection of her singing like, tomorrow's child, tomorrow.
That's pretty much exactly how it is.
And you're like, I thought you hated it. She's like, shut up.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so you liked the parks and the movies and all that, but so how did it go from, you have this love and passion for that entertainment aspect to reaching deep and finding like where this came from, the creativity, who these people are with Richard and Robert Sherman.
Well, actually, I started out doing art. I'm an artist as well. And in 2011, the Disney company chose one of my paintings to be on display at the D23 Expo. So I was out there for that. And, I was just loving every minute of that and embracing the artistic side. And, that expo I went to, that was my first one I had ever been to. And I didn't know what to expect. And the lines were so long for everything at that one. And I happened to be walking down one of the corridors and they just opened the doors. We have extra room in this panel if anyone wants to come in. And it happened to be one that Richard Sherman was doing. So that was kind of the luckiest walk by I've ever had. So I got to sit on that, and he was talking about how he made, the It's a Small World song, and just sitting there and listening to him, it was just incredible. He is so passionate about Disney and about his work, and just listening to the story unravel, I thought, wow, this is one of the most interesting people I have ever listened to. And, so of course I go home and I Google it, and I had known a little bit about them just from being a Disney fan, but the more I read, I was like, wow, this is a great story. This would make an excellent book. And to my surprise, there really wasn't that much out there about them as far as books. And, I thought, okay, I can do this. So I just decided to write a book.
So you're at the D23 Expo and you went home and did all the research. So what gave you that spark to say, you know what, I'm going to write a book?
I don't know. I'm not sure when it actually hit me that I was going to write a book. I just kind of had the idea and I threw it out to a publisher, and he's like, that's a great idea. Get on that. And I didn't really expect that. So then I was like, okay, I guess I'm writing a book. So I've always loved writing though. So I think it was just a matter of time that I picked something, and I think this was just the perfect topic. It was something that I could relate to, something that I was very passionate about, something that I loved. And I think that's what made writing the book such a joy, is because I did have such a passion for it. And I don't think many topics I could get elbow deep for 2 years, in research without going insane, other than something that was Disney. So, I enjoyed every second of writing this book. And like I said, it was definitely a labor of love. It took 2 years, multiple trips out to California, and I'm from Maryland. So it was a long process, and it wasn't as easy as you would think, because a lot of the information that was pertinent to the book was from the 60s. So you had to go dig out old newspaper clippings and magazines and things that just really aren't readily, accessible anymore. So it was a little more difficult than I had originally thought, but, I tried to piece it together the best that I could.
So what did your family and friends think whenever you're like, you know what, I'm going to write a book based off like a Disney themed book about Richard and Robert Sherman?
I don't think they really knew who I was talking about, to be honest. When I started getting into the different songs, then they realized, oh, okay, well, this makes more sense. I don't think it was any surprise to my family that I was going to write something Disney. I'm kind of the Disney nut of the family. My brother definitely loved it because he came out with me to California, so he got a trip out of it. And, we hit up a lot of the Disney studios and various movie studios out there. So he had a good time. And I promised him a trip if he helped me research, but it turned more into maybe 2 hours of research and then, I'm going to go over here and look at this other stuff in here. So, but it was a good time, and, they've all been very supportive of it.
I could just imagine that. You're like, I have to go to California again for research.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Research.
Yeah, you're just addicted to Disneyland.
Well, I haven't been to Disneyland very much, so it was an excuse to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would use that as an excuse. Totally. I think I should write a book on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Just, because I can and I have to, because, it's in me. It's really not. But
Honey, we have to, work on this room this summer, so it's not looking good. You're like, yeah, but I got this book. That'll wait.
Exactly.
Mr. Toad. Mr. what? Mr. Toad. You don't know.
Katie, I got a question for you. Is there anything that you researched that didn't end up in the book that maybe you wish had finally got in there, but you just maybe cut for it didn't fit, or it didn't, it was going to make the book too long or something? Anything like that?
There's definitely a lot of things I think I could have broadened about different topics. I had a word limit, so I kind of had to take I think, the most important things and put it into the book. The one thing I did not focus on was their strained relationship. You know, I kind of wanted to keep it light and kind of highlight their career. And, you know, they're just Disney legends. So I wanted to kind of shine a light on all that they've done. And the documentary that their sons did was amazing. And, you know, that was another thing that kind of drove me to write the book. But I feel like they covered that, and it was their family. So I feel like they had kind of the place to do that. And I just didn't feel like that was something I wanted to kind of bring up in my book. So I'm definitely aware of it. I've had people ask me, you know, well, did you not know about that? I'm like, well, I did, but you know, it was such an upbeat book. I didn't really want to bring the end down with that. So I briefly mentioned it, but I didn't really go into detail about that. And as I said, I've had people ask me about that, but I think if you're a Sherman Brothers fan, you've probably seen the documentary The Boys. So I feel like they can get all that information there. I just, like I said, I wanted to keep it upbeat and light and just really highlight their career and not really their, you know, personal strains.
Yeah, I didn't even know that portion of their lives until I saw that documentary. I'm like, wait, this happened? Like, they had that? Because all I remember is them sitting at the piano with Walt, coming up with the Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, and hearing all the other soundtracks that they've come up with over time. And I'm thinking that they're, you know, and then you see them in Saving Mr. Banks. And you know, you figure that's how their life is just friendly brothers always working together, no big deal. And then I saw that, I'm like, that's insane. But you know, they always came together and worked professionally.
Yeah, I found that amazing that, you know, they could be such an amazing team and bounce so many ideas off of each other and almost finish each other's sentences, and then as soon as the work day was done, just kind of go their separate ways. I don't know how you could even do that if you had such a strained relationship. That just shows their level of, you know, professionalism.
Definitely. I mean, who doesn't know a song from Mary Poppins, and who doesn't know It's a Small World or the Winnie the Pooh theme? All these other songs that we've heard over time that you might not know, and you're like, they wrote that? They created that? How about, you know, One Little Spark? They wrote that. How about Making Memories? And so many other songs that I listen to, like you're saying you might listen to in a car ride. My daughter loves Making Memories, that song that vaguely played in the beginning of a pre-show at Epcot in the 80s. Like, she loves it. And One Little Spark, to me, is a happy song, and it's upbeat, and it, you know, you think about a happy dream finder and Figment playing and all the songs in Mary Poppins. You know, Walt's favorite song was Feed the Birds from Mary Poppins. He would have them play it on like Friday nights before he'd go home. And just crazy. That's the talent that these guys had.
Pretty incredible. Quite a legacy. Katie, do you have a favorite song of theirs?
There's so many. I think all of the songs from Mary Poppins, just because I grew up on them, and Winnie the Pooh. But my favorite one from the parks is probably the Enchanted Tiki Room song, just because that's one of my favorite attractions. I don't know why, but that's like one of the ones I can't miss when I go there. I think my kids have had enough of that by now, but they know we've always got to hit that one. That's like one of the first and last things I always have to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tiki Room's a classic, especially with all the dad jokes.
Now that you've written that book, what's on the future agenda for you?
Well, I have a second book that my manuscript is due in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Which I'm a little worried about. I'm sure I'll get it done, but, it's just coming down to the wire. And that one's actually on Disney's America, the theme park that was supposed to be built in Virginia back in the 90s. So that one was another one of those that I just kind of threw out an idea, and they liked that one, of course. I'm like, you had to pick the one that's so hard to write, because I was throwing out different biographies, and of course my publisher's like, nope, I like that one. I'm like, yeah, okay. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to find about that, but okay. But surprisingly, there's a lot more out there about that than I had originally thought. And I live in Maryland, so luckily I could just drive an hour down to Virginia. And, I went to one of the libraries. They had a government section there where they had all the different, anything that basically is built in Virginia. They have all of the government documents there. And I thought, okay, they told me they have a couple things here. Well, I went in there and they had an entire room dedicated to Disney's America, file cabinets and hundreds of binders. And I thought, oh, good Lord.
Wow.
I actually found more out about that than I did about the Sherman Brothers. So that was a crazy twist to me, but that one's been interesting to write. Just because a lot of the different Imagineers I've talked to who worked on the project, they give me great information. They've been wonderful, but Disney, because it was not a completed park, they don't really want to give you too much in case they want to use some of it again. So it's been kind of piecing an incomplete puzzle, I think, but it's still a very good topic, and I've had a lot of fun writing it and learned a lot about it. So I think it would have been a fun park, and it would have been an hour for me, so I would have liked that. But,
The first time I heard about it was on, I think it was Connecting with Walt, and they went into basically the whole history. Now, what's nice, though, and you mentioned that the Imagineers didn't want to give you too much, is there is some of the elements that they brought to life in the other parks.
yes, they did kind of repurpose some of the rides that they had planned to use, so that was kind of interesting to see that, too. And, these are different rides that I have enjoyed for years, and just thinking, wow, this could have been something else closer to home. So that was kind of neat to see, I think. But I understand why they don't want to give me too much information because, with anything, if you had a great idea, of course you're going to want to reuse it.
Yeah, I know. I wish that you can go into their archives and look at things that were shelved over time, like Thunder Mesa and all those attractions, but they use some of the elements throughout the world in other parks. But thinking about those ideas, it's insane. I wish I can go in those. So now you're a couple weeks out from hopefully finishing that, but now what inspired you to do that, though?
Yeah, I really enjoyed writing the first book. It was just something, it took me forever, I'll be honest. It took me 2 years. I did have a baby in the middle of it, so that was understandable. But it was just something I enjoyed every second of. I enjoyed the research. I enjoyed writing it. It's just seeing it come together out of nothing, I think, kind of creating a story out of nothing. And this was something that I think I was only 9 when Disney's America was being proposed to be built. So it was something I remember them mentioning because my parents were like, oh, we might get a Disney nearby. And of course, that was the greatest thing ever for a 9-year-old to hear. But I didn't really know a lot about it until recently when I started looking into it and, various projects like Westcott out in California that they were going to build. And I think I've taken more of a nostalgic historical standpoint lately of interest that I just kind of like to learn about the different, historical aspects of the parks and the studios. And so just kind of diving into that. And like I said, I live in Maryland, so this one was kind of close to home. And I really liked the theming of it. I'm not sure that it would have been incredibly popular today, but I think it would have been a unique park, and I think it would have been definitely an asset to have in the Washington area to have kind of entertainment to go along with the tourists and the historical side of everything.
Yeah, we went to DC in December, and we didn't take our daughter with us. She's 10 because we're going to wait a few years because we don't think she'd be that interested in the National Archive or the Smithsonian right now, but in a couple of years she'd be a lot more interested because she'll learn more about American history by that time when she goes to throughout school. But if they'd had a theme park there, she would have definitely been involved, and we certainly would have taken her if we were going to do that. So yeah, it'd be great if they could do that someday. They're probably afraid it's going to siphon off some of the Northeasterner business that's headed into Florida.
Right.
Well, I'm interested in your book. I'm excited to read it when the Disney's America one comes out. That sounds great. Maybe they'll create a theme park that doesn't have anything to do with Disney, but might be one of the new Fox IPs or something. You never know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Die Hard, the theme park.
So you're still in the midst of working on that one, but do you have any further plans or ideas on the next one after that?
No, I haven't been plotting that far in advance. This one was, I found a lot of information. This one just wasn't, it didn't flow as easily because the other one was, a life story. So it was kind of just putting it in chronological order, and it was interesting. I mean, not that this one's not interesting. I find this one interesting too. It's just a theme park. So it was kind of, it's been a lot of the newspaper articles too were really negative. So that's been something I've had to overlook because, there was thousands of newspaper articles written about this park, but they were so negative. So, as a Disney lover, I'm just like cringing every time I read them. I'm like, oh, why would they say this about a Disney park? But so having to kind of piece together the story without, again, a lot of the negative, this was a little more difficult because there really is no story. It's just kind of describing a park. So trying to get the right angle that would make it, more or less than a research paper, I guess, to make it more of a story. That's been more of a challenge. So that one's kind of taken a toll on me. So I haven't really looked too far into the future as to what I'll do next.
There's so many Disney related things out there. I mean, you could even write about Westcott and how that didn't come to be, or anything related.
More trips to California.
Yes. Well, I'm always for free trips, so. Well, not free trips, but, trips out there, so.
Right. Not free, but we can always write those off. Katie, you said that your publisher was the one that chose the Disney's America project for you. How has it been working with Theme Park Press?
Oh, I've loved it. They've been great. He's always been very supportive. Like I said, I think he knows that I can push the envelope with some of the more hard to tell stories. So I was trying to take the easy way out with more biographies, but I think he knew that I could handle something a little more difficult. And that was just something I kind of threw out there because I happened to be, looking into it one day and I thought, oh, this would be interesting because, you look it up, there's only a couple paragraphs written about it or like a couple YouTube videos that are maybe 10 minutes and they don't really go into a whole lot of detail. So it's very like minimal information. So I thought, well, this would be really great to kind of, expand upon that because anyone who loves the parks like me kind of wants to know, everything there was to know about it. So I think he was on board with that, thinking, well, this is a great topic, get on that. So he's definitely been supportive and, they've been great with helping me write these books and, just developing something that I honestly never thought I'd get to do. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So I know everyone in here listening loves the Sherman Brothers, and maybe they have or haven't even heard about Disney's America. So where can everyone find your first book, and where will they eventually find your next one?
Well, my first book is Walt Disney's Melody Makers, the biography of the Sherman Brothers, and that is available on Amazon, and it's available in both print and Kindle. And the Disney's America book, which has yet to be named, that will be on Amazon as well, probably around October, November.
Okay, not too far off from now. Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting. So, wait, now I did ask you earlier, like whenever you told your family and friends and they're like, who? But now that you have that book out there, what did they think after the fact?
Oh, they loved it. My mom especially. She just fell in love with this story, and I think she's become one of the Sherman Brothers' greatest fans from reading this book. Like you said, they all knew the songs, but I don't think they really knew, the songwriters behind the songs. And so I think this whole experience for them has kind of opened a new, view of Disney and an appreciation of the songs that we all grew up with.
They need like a whole wing where One Man's Dream is at Hollywood Studios for just the Sherman's Brothers or something.
Yes. Well, they just had like a huge Sherman Brothers event in LA like 2 days ago, I think. And I was so sad. I wanted to go so bad, but I could not go back out to LA. So I couldn't do it. Couldn't take another trip right now. But that was something I would have loved because Richard Sherman was there and, they had a sing along and played all the different songs and kind of had like a star-studded event there to, celebrate their legacy. And I thought, oh, I would have loved to have been there, but it's one of those things. Of course, being on the East Coast is not too easy to get out to.
It's nice that he's still doing that stuff.
Oh, I think it's amazing. He is.
So like you said, though, and like your mom reacted, if you guys listening don't know their story, it's really, really interesting. And if you don't know all of what they've created, check out this book because I know I love the Sherman Brothers legacy. I'm so glad Walt found them and it all worked out how it did. Their music basically is known to the world, and that's that creativity that's very important to the Disney legacy. So make sure you check that book out and stay tuned for that one. So where can we find you on social media as well?
Well, I'm on Instagram most of the time, which is Katy Fine Art. It's Katy fine art, and I do a lot of my posting and updates there. I've been backed up lately. I did a promotion for my book where I did hand-painted paintings with their songs using their song sheets, and it was a little more popular than I thought. So I've been backed up the last couple of weeks doing those, which I mean is definitely a good thing. It's definitely what I put it out there for, but I do fun things like that, giveaways, and all my updates and stuff are on there. And I'm also on Facebook, not as much as Instagram, which that's Katie Marie Studios, and that's about it.
Katie, I'm looking at your Instagram. I love your stuff. I'm going to go like 50 of these things right now.
Oh, well, thank you.
Rich, have you seen the One Little Spark one that she's got on there?
I haven't. Actually, wait,
From,
I have.
April 29th. It's incredible.
Let me go, because I'm pretty sure whenever I forget how I met you, Katie. I think you messaged me, but whenever I did find your page, I think I did the same thing.
Yeah. The Chuck Jones stuff is amazing, too. I love the Chuck Jones Gallery in San Diego. That's where I'm originally from, and I would just slip in there and spend hours looking at that stuff.
Yeah, I love doing work for them. I think I've done it for the last 6 or 7 years every year. So it's just another thing. It's not Disney, but, I still love doing it, too.
That's awesome.
All right, Katie. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope a lot of the listeners discovered something very interesting, and they do go check it out. Make sure you guys go on Amazon and check out that book, and keep your eyes out for the next one coming later, hopefully in the fall. So thanks again for coming on, Katie.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've had a really great time, and I hope you all go out and check out the book, because it definitely is. It's a great story, and it kind of goes from their childhood, actually before their childhood. It kind of, goes from their whole family background into their career with Disney and beyond. So I think it's something that, you'll definitely learn something from. And if you're a Sherman Brothers fan, it's definitely something you should pick up.
That's awesome. I know I own it. Joey, have you picked it up yet?
I have not. You know what? I would love to get a signed copy. Katie, is there a way I can do that?
Oh, sure. You can contact me on Instagram for that, and I would be happy to give anyone a signed copy who contacts me.
All right.
Awesome. Guys, remember that, and make sure you head over to Amazon and check it out now. That's it for this episode. Thanks to Michael Pitcher for the show music by the Disney Company, Backtrack Vocals on YouTube, Dave Niskin on YouTube, and other copyright holders. To find us on social media, search for One Little Spark Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. For show notes, pictures, and more, check out onelittlesparkpodcast.com. Thanks for listening to this week's episode, and just remember, tomorrow is just a dream away.